So I'm going to do a top 10 tip of what I suggest people should adapt and use for their window cleaning to improve their efficiency and productivity. And that's a bucket of water here, and it doesn't have soap added to the water. So I'm going to have top 10 tips with a few extra bonuses as well. And the most important tip, rule number one for me, and I think for anybody who wants to improve their window cleaning skills, we're talking traditional skills here, is don't add soap to the bucket of water or rely on soap bottles to squirt on the glass, well, mixed squirt bottles I mean, because I want the best performing soap solution to get the best performance out of this tool that I'm going to be using, whatever tool that might be. As you know, I only use liquidators, so I want a nice saturated, thick, consistent soap solution here, and you won't get that from using added soap into a bucket of water, and I won't get that thickness and saturation with a squirt bottle, with a half a litre squirt bottle that I'm going to squirt on every window. If it's dirty and if it's hot weather, then I'm going to struggle. And both examples are nicely demonstrated all over YouTube by other window cleaners, and the idea is not to struggle for your work and get the highest quality out of your work. So I found the highest quality results came from using a saturated soapy solution that is static, and you only get that from adding soap directly to a wet washer. And it's a wet washer, it's not a damp washer. So that's the best tip number one, because that will help you get onto the right track. And there's no right or wrong track to be on, but if you want to improve your skills and your productivity, then this track is the right track for you. If you want to stay doing what you have been doing for a long time, then that's the right track for you, but you're just going to be working longer, harder, slower and getting less results. So that's rule or top tip number one, or rule number one for me. So the second rule for me is not as important, but still very important. You can use any squeegee for both of these top two tips. Use two hands, so I want to wash the window once and squeegee over the top and wash again. If it's a hot day, I don't want this soap drying out. I don't want to be working one-sided or one-handed. I don't want to be using any combination tool whatsoever when I'm working on the ground. I just want to use two hands. That's what I've been given. If you've only got one arm, then you learn you can use one arm, but most people watching this has two arms, so get both hands working simultaneously, work more conveniently, make the mess less when it comes to cleaning up, yeah, with the two-handed method, I like to keep my washer on the left arm side of me. Not as important, and using two hands you can still be on the right track of getting good techniques and good way of working with just using one hand. This is just an add-on, and so far we've not talked anything about what tool to use. So that's rule number two, or top tip number two. At number three is use liquidators. So if you're not been using liquidators, or you can't use liquidators, you will be able to use liquidators if you've got this soap solution method. If you've got any other soap solution method, you won't be able to get very good results from using liquidators. So liquidators doesn't help, well, it does help in a way, but it makes you work more precise, more accurate, and it makes you work better in your way of working. So we're working two-handed, which you can use with any tool, but then when we start talking about tool and technique, then we start working much more precisely and accurately, and we're not now working like everybody else. The majority of window cleaners work with sloppy solutions, they've got sloppy techniques, they've got inferior tools. All tools will help clean a window, but this will help get your tool and technique to a maximum. Now if you're using modified wagtails or modified channels, you're not going to get the accuracy and precision that the Moorman channel provides. So the emphasis is down to you to improve if you want to get more work done. No other tool will allow you to get that sort of way of working to be as finite like it is right now with liquidators. So tip number 4, we're talking pole work now. You can work however you want on a pole, okay? You can swap tools over, you can do straight pulls, that doesn't matter. You can use any tool you want, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to talk about with the pole here. I'm working with the accelerator, but now I'm going to work my other side. So I don't want to be restricted to using one side. I want to be using both sides, because if I'm working one-sided, I'm restricted with angles, and it helps me be much more fluid and get more work done in less time. So if you're still doing straight pulls, changing tools over, you'll always be working with your preferred side, but you can still work doing your straight pulls on your other side to start to learn to adapt and use both sides with your pole work. But to be honest, if you want the best pole work, use this tool here, use this soap solution here, and start working like a lot of people work on YouTube with tool and technique. Don't put standard channels in the accelerator. The most important tool with the accelerator and liquidator is not the accelerator, it's the liquidator, because that will make you become a more precise, more accurate, more qualified, skillful window cleaning technician. The accelerator is just an add-on bonus. Just like I'm going to have 2 add-on bonuses on this list here of top 10 tips. Right, so the next one is number 5, right size tool for right size pane of glass. So here we got a nice big pane of glass. I'm going to use the liquidator, because the liquidator is the best tool to use for tooling technique. But is this the best size to use? It's a 6-inch. Now I am getting 0 detailing and I'm getting tooling technique, but it's not really ideally the best tool to use. Now, as I said, I should have put this in as a bonus tip, which I didn't, but I'll throw it in here now. Don't copy what other people do. Maybe listen to what they say, and that includes don't copy everything that I do as well. So just find out what works well with you. A 16-inch might be fine for you, and for a lot of the time 16-inch is fine for me, but this is a big window, and if I've got a few of these windows to clean, I might as well use a bigger tool. I'm going to use a 22-inch, but that doesn't mean you use a 22-inch. This just works well for me. So I'm going to use my tooling technique with a bigger tool, but that doesn't mean you should copy. I'm just saying what works for me will be a bigger tool. Still just as good as a 16-inch or a 6-inch, but it's the right size tool for the right size pane of glass. So don't be lumbered with one size tool fits all, or 2 size fits all. Right, so number 6 is use the right technique. So I'll go back to my 16-inch. There's no real right or wrong way of working, but if I was to start doing this with my tool, is this the best way of working? No. What if I start doing this? Is this the best way of working? No. So you want to use the right type of technique for the right type of window and the right size window. Tool size will also work well with your sort of technique size. Now there's not much I can do with this size window and this size tool here, so I'm just going to go for a fanning movement. But take note, I'm using 2 hands, I'm not using 1 hand. Different size window, different type of window frame, I will use maybe a different technique, like a minimum move, something like that. So next one is tip number 7. There's plenty of fast window cleaners that I've seen, and quite a few on YouTube over the years, quite often you'll find the fast window cleaners are one-handed window cleaners, but I'm going to use 2 hands here. But if I start working fast now, I'm going to start making a load of mess, and it's not getting the results that I require, because now I've got to fix all those mistakes and these lines and these smudges and smears and flicks. So slow down, be more like a surgeon rather than a speed demon or butcher, and once you slow down you will speed up, because you won't be making the mistakes, because we're now reverting to tooling technique, 0 detailing tooling technique. but you can still use whatever tool you fancy using. But unfortunately, liquidators are the best performing squeegees to use, and I suggest everybody use traditional window cleaner. Get onto liquidators and don't use anything else. So slow down, be more precise, is tip number 7. Right, so tip number 8, so if you're only a water-fed pole window cleaner, the reason why you're only a water-fed pole window cleaner is because you lack something. You lack the knowledge and the skills of using traditional tools. Now you might be able to use traditional tools inside the house, but I'm pretty sure you won't be really accurate and speed, in terms of speed and efficiency and effectiveness. You're going to be lacking, because if you were really good at your traditional tools or way of working, you wouldn't be just only looking for water-fed pole to do everything. So for me, there's just not one tool that fits everything. I've got many tools in the box that I need to use, and water-fed pole is one of them. Don't use it that much, and one size tool doesn't fit everything. One type of washer size doesn't fit everything. So I use the right size tool for the right size pane of glass, and there's many water-fed pole window cleaners that I know that just cannot and will not use traditional tools, or will not do any inside work. That's because they cannot use squeegees. And there's plenty of people, local guys, that only do water-fed pole because that's all they can do. So again, that fits in the one-dimensional category. There's many different types of one-dimensionalness in window cleaning. Water-fed pole, sole window water-fed pole is, in my opinion, being one-dimensional, using one type of technique, using one type of tool, is all one-dimensional window cleaning. Have many options under your belt for your window cleaning. So tip number 9 is be humble and always strive to improve. So if you're lacking in something, understand that you need to improve, and you shouldn't really hit a level. You should always look at getting around a problem, a sticking point, and bursting through that barrier. Never think you know everything and you can do everything, or claim to everybody you are the best at something. Even if you are the best at whatever you are, there's still room for improvement. So both being boastful and egotistical will hinder your progress. And tip number 10 will be, don't revert back to any of the bad habits. So really, if you start implementing these 10 tips, and there's plenty more that you should implement, but this is I thought the most important. If you start ticking things off and start thinking, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to work two-handed anymore, I'm not going to pole two-sided anymore, I'm not going to use liquidators anymore, I'm going to go and start putting soap back in my bucket of water, then you've gone back to square one. So that's the most important thing you shouldn't do, is put soap in your bucket of water. So I've already given one bonus tip earlier on in this video, but there's 2 other bonus tips I want to talk about, and that is, it's always optional, everything I'm talking about here, but the more things you tick on that list, the better you will become at your job using traditional tools. So I like to use gloves. I not only use gloves I like to use scrub gloves. So if there's a problem with a mark, I can scrub, and then I can start using my tooling technique again. This will help me protect my hands and my fingers and my skin, keep them clean as well. And I just find it more comfortable to work with gloves. Did take a while to get used to wearing gloves, but that's me. And as I said, I use these extra tools on here. This is another time saver for me. I found always optional, you don't have to use it, but that's what I like to use. And the last but not least, you probably can't see on the camera, but once you've done your zero detail, zero mistake work, you still haven't finished. You need to finish the bottom of the pane here. Try not to mess up the window that you've already cleaned. Just clean up after your mess you've made. Pretty straightforward, most people will do that. Sometimes I find it annoying cleaning up the mess, but it's something that I have to do, and you guys should keep on top of things as well. great to have tool and technique, and most of my videos are just about tool and technique. It's not really about the whole aspects of window cleaning. But tidying up after yourself is also important, so that's part of doing the job, and that's probably basically it. I don't want to do any more. I could be talking for the whole day with tips, but that should get anybody who's sort of struggling with some aspects of their window cleaning, traditional work. Most important rule, number one, get on the right track, is stop putting soap in the bucket of water.